Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you. Our Region's Business. Innovation, transformation, momentum, improving our communities and driving technologies that will shape our region for generations. The collaboration that brings vitality, prosperity, and life to living. Stay with us for the coming half hour as we examine in depth our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, why Pittsburgh's become one of the hottest commercial real estate markets in the country. Plus, you've heard of a blackboard and a whiteboard. Well, how about a bloom board? We'll find out why the California company is extending its reach to our region. But first, what's ahead for the economy in 2014? Every year about this time, we invite PNC's chief economist to dust off his crystal ball and bring it on down to Our Region's Business. Stuart Hoffman's back with us today to do just that. He's chief economist for the PNC Financial Services Group, which is, of course, the sponsor of Our Region's Business. Welcome back. Good to have you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How many years have we been doing this?
We've been doing it well on this show for 10 years, on Sunday mornings for 25, and in some way, shape, or form for about 32.
And we haven't changed a bit.
No, we're as young as when we were those bright young men moving into Pittsburgh, right, into the early 80s. Yeah, nothing at all has changed. Well, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
And especially because maybe a little less gloom and doom with this appearance, certainly than was the case just a couple of years ago. Things seem to be doing okay right now.
Yeah, they are. It's regionally and even better nationally, although we've been saying that for a couple of years, and we keep building on that theme. It looks like 2013, looking back, started slow. We had the fiscal cliff and the tax hike, but gained momentum as the year went along, and looks like it ended with a fairly decent holiday sales season, which is so important to the year. And we think some of that momentum's carrying over here into 2014, both at the national level and in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I want to talk about sort of the national, international picture first, and then we'll get to our region. It does seem, kind of in spite of ourselves in some way, that the U.S. economy is really beginning now to crawl out of that recession that happened 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crawling. Maybe we can get off our knees and
actually get to a walk.
I don't know if we're going to walk upright, but maybe at least we'll be able to walk on 2 feet, and that's what we see happening. We see faster economic growth in 2014. Above average. We've been below average, some long-term average for the last 4 years. We think finally, we kind of get above the speed limit. That means more jobs, continued drop in the unemployment rate. Some of that strength will be in housing, which we think has still got a long way to go to come back. Maybe some more business investments. Our exports to the rest of the world are looking better as Europe finally goes from recession to some small growth, and Asia, China and Japan, particularly Japan, doing better. Our neighbors in North and South, Mexico and Canada, are doing all right. So with consumers, business investments, some exports, some housing, autos, that adds up to an economy that isn't going to blow your socks off, but is going to show some growth in 2014 that we think finally beats the long-run trend.
There was so much angst last year, for much of the year, about Europe and what could happen over there, and was it enough to drag us down? And I remember you were here a year ago when you said, well, it's not going to drag us into it, but it's not great. I mean, is Europe finally getting its act together? Is more of an upside?
Yeah, we think Europe, particularly Northern Europe, I mean, it's more in Germany and the UK and maybe a little less in France, and still Spain and Italy and Portugal, and of course Greece, still suffering. But yes, 1/5 of all U.S. exports to the world go to Europe, and so it's an important region for the U.S. for a lot of reasons. So yes, we're looking for Europe to show growth. It actually looks like they grew in the latter half of last year, but by that amount. And we think that 2014 we'll actually see Europe maybe grow 1.5%. That's still below trend. It's still slow, but it beats negative.
Yeah, and less of sort of the crisis or the impending doom.
Less the financial crisis, the impending doom. And that's certainly true in the U.S. Consumers have really paid down a lot of debt, are in much better shape. My own industry, the banking industry, is in better shape. State and local governments, including here in Pennsylvania, and Southwest Pennsylvania, are in much better shape, and that's true not all, but in many state and local governments across the country, and just less drag from the federal government. No tax hikes, and it was good to see the sequester replaced by an actual, as they call it, bipartisan budget act of 2013.
There's a word we haven't heard in a long time, right? A bipartisan agreement to do anything.
Yes.
You mentioned housing. I mean, it's kind of remarkable we've done as well as we have, I suppose, in some ways, given how there's been no housing economy for 5 years. I mean, is that really beginning to change? Do you really think we're going, not outside of our region, but across the country, we're really going to finally see housing begin to move?
Yeah, it actually did begin a year ago.
Okay.
Last year we saw some improvement, but off of a very, very low base across the country. And of course, places like Vegas or Florida had the biggest increases, but look where they were coming from. They were coming from, you know, prices that were less than half of what they were at their peak. So yes, we think housing has a long way to go. Builders are going to build more homes. They're a little more optimistic. We think mortgage monies were relatively available. Mortgage rates have drifted up from around 3.5% last spring. Right now they're around 4.5%. Maybe they'll even get up to 5%. That could hold a few buyers back, but still, with house prices rising, we think we're going to see a better housing market regionally and across the country, making a contribution to that overall better economic growth.
Yeah, a little bit of time left. I want to talk more specifically about the region.
Sure.
I mean, for much of the last 5 years, we've really had a growth rate that was best in class, you know, compared to so many metros across the United States. The relative rate seems to be slowing.
Yes.
But does the overall regional economy seem to be running on all cylinders right now?
It does seem to be running on all cylinders, and you're right. Early in the recovery, we were outgrowing a lot of peer cities, but you know, you can't keep that up forever. The point is, cumulatively, since say 2009, when the recession ended, Pittsburgh has outpaced a lot of the region, in fact, outpaced the nation. We have more people working in southwestern Pennsylvania, the metro area, all throughout 2013 than we had in 2007. That wasn't true nationwide. For this year, for 2014, we think we'll see another 12 to 15,000 additional jobs across our region: construction, financial services, Medicare, technology, and our unemployment rate, which was around 6.75% as we ended last year. We don't have the final data yet for December, but that's our estimate. We think by the time we end 2014, we'll be down around 6.25%, and that even a little below the national trend. Personal bankruptcies are down, and as we just said, we think our housing market will see more sales and some modest increase in prices. So yeah, if not on all cylinders, Pittsburgh's firing on most of its cylinders in manufacturing, transportation, services, and this region is still humming.
All right, well, good to hear. A lot to look forward to this year. Good to be able to have an optimistic economist stop by every now and then. Stuart Hoffman from PNC, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next up, the building boom in downtown Pittsburgh and what's driving it. We'll meet Lucas Pyatt as our region's business continues.